Welcome to Animexcel, where we believe that some mangakas are almost as elusive as Hunter x Hunter release dates. Take, for example, Shinichi Sakamoto, whose work is always breathtakingly detailed, but those are the only details we ever get from him. Sakamoto has made himself somewhat of a mystery in the manga community because we don't know anything about the man. Perhaps he's hiding his real identity because he's seen some horrors of war and state secrets firsthand, which has led some fans to speculate that he's a time traveler who's been through the events of history and knows everything that ever happened. But the amount of detail with which he depicts historic tragedy and psychological horror in works like Innocent, we're inclined to believe this theory. Whatever the case may be, this man who seems to understand human actions and historic tragedy so well might always remain a mystery. But at least we get to see him every now and then. The next guy on our list is a complete ghost. Toshi Iwaki is basically a phantom with zero social media traces who almost never gives any interviews. Even when his greatest creation, Parasite, turned into a popular anime and the rare live-action adaptation, he still chose to not even show up for the premiere. Though he claims he simply just doesn't like the spotlight, we at Animexcel know that there's something darker behind it all. Some fans even believe that he's actually a parasitic alien himself, studying humanity from a distance. And honestly, if he is, we believe he's doing a pretty good job. At least we know what Hitoshi looks like, because sometimes even that is left up to our imagination. Just think about this for a second. Creating a multi-million-dollar franchise from the comfort of your bedroom, and no one even knows what you look like. Yup, that's the next person on our list, the legendary One. One started his career as an anonymous webcomic artist, but even after his creation One Punch Man exploded, One just refuses to step into the spotlight. If Saitama can destroy everything with a single punch and still just say your everyday Cape Baldy, One can blow the ratings and still stay invisible. No one knows One's real name, what he looks like, where he's from, or if he is even a he. Is he just a regular guy, or is he Saitama in disguise? Because just like the legendary Cape Baldy Saitama, One could walk right past you on the road, and you wouldn't even know it's him. But at least One still puts out chapters on time, unlike our next pick, Yoshihiro Togashi. Togashi is the vanishing genius behind works like Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho. Togashi is like the Schrodinger's cat of the manga world, because his greatest creation, Hunter x Hunter, is both alive and dead at the same time. What we're trying to say is the series is not over, but it's still not ongoing. The end of the Chimera Ant arc of the story got fans incredibly excited for the next arc, which would have been the legendary Dark Continent, but that just never came. Togashi's infamous hiatus has become the legend of the manga community, and every time he resurfaces, fans celebrate it as if they've won the lottery, hoping that they'll finally get the infamous return of Hunter x Hunter. But that prophecy has unfortunately never come true. He himself has already expressed his elusive nature, as he once left a note saying, "I wish I were a cloud." Sir, at this point, you are. Because what in the urban legend are you trying to be? Maybe he's working on the next chapter as we speak. Or maybe he's just playing Dragon Quest. Or perhaps he's just having the worst case of writer's block in all of history. The truth is, we may never find out. But at this point, it's likelier for George R.R. Martin to finish The Winds of Winter before we get another chapter of Hunter x Hunter out of Togashi. But at least we know Togashi's an actual human being. Our next mangaka might just be a volleyball disguised as a person. I'm not kidding, I actually saw that on Reddit once. The person I'm talking about, of course, is Haruichi Furudate, the invisible inventor of Haikyuu. Haikyuu is a manga about volleyball. Yup, you heard that right, and not only that, it's a massive hit, in fact becoming one of the greatest sports anime of all time. But don't worry OGs, no one is ever going to replace Inazuma 11. But despite all that fame, the creator of Haikyuu has remained practically invisible for years. But our next pick does talk. He gives interviews, he's seen, but it's just not his face. The man I'm talking about is Konoe Horikoshi, the masked menace to Hero Society. Horikoshi created a world where heroes can show off their abilities, quirks, and powers, but he himself hides his face. Whatever the case may be, we believe that a simple explanation that he's introverted just isn't enough. We think he might just be a superhero in disguise. Also like the idea of the speculation that he uses a mask to hide his real identity, because who wouldn't want to say a secret? Regardless, if Horikoshi ever reveals his face, expect Shonen Jump to do a full 2-page color. Also, we would like to give a special shout out to Horikoshi because no mangaka in history can draw hands better than this man, and he knows it because he literally created a character who is obsessed with hands. Yet for all his mysteries, Horikoshi has nothing on the man who dedicated his entire life to his work. Despite Berserk being one of the most influential mangas in history, I mean, come on, we've all yelled, Griffith, at least once in our lives, the creator of Berserk, Kentaro Miura, rarely, if ever, gave any interviews. Many called Miura insane for the obsession that he had with his work, and some even believed that it was his obsession with perfectionism in his work that led to his death. Yup, Miura's death in 2021 was tragic, and it was caused by something called an erotic dissection, a condition that is caused by high blood pressure and overexertion. Yup, this man literally worked himself to death. Miura was in love with his work and it consumed his life. And still, we are forever forced to wonder how a man with such little connection to the outside world could write acts of such evil and darkness. We'll probably never know what gave this man his fanatical drive to work. We believe that Miura's work was beautiful, just like his life. The next author in our work could also kill with his work, just not like Miura. Talking about Oba, who is the creator of Death Note. Oba can easily be called the Shinigami of the manga world. They're always watching, but they're never seen. No one knows what Oba's real name is or if they're even real, because I guess they're afraid someone's going to write their name on the Death Note, because they frickin' made it. This mysterious alleged author of the Death Note has no confirmed pictures, no interviews, and no proof of their actual existence. This has led to many fans believing that Oba is just a collective pseudonym for a team of writers who are writing together. Some even believe that Oba is just actually Takashi Obata, the editor of Death Note. Maybe Oba just accidentally wrote their own name with the Death Note and went poof. For a person to just vanish into thin air and stay invisible in a day and age like today, Oba really must be an enigma. But at least Oba only has a connection to death. They don't claim to know ghosts like the next person on our list, Umizu. Imagine a man who dresses exclusively in red and white stripes, wears nothing else, and lives in a haunted mansion, and then writes ghost stories. Yup, Umizu doesn't just write horror, he makes you live it. He once held a wedding ceremony at his allegedly haunted house, but himself, and invited no one. I mean, come on. How more haunted can a person get? Creepy. And yet, Umizu's picks and claims were never half as wild or magical as the next person on our list. They're talking about Shiru Mizuki, the man who spoke to ghosts. Mizuki's life is something straight out of his own manga, filled with supernatural encounters and the unexplained. Creator of the greatly acclaimed, and you'll have to forgive me for butchering this pronunciation, Gegege no Kitaro. Mizuki has always been a point of interest because of his claims that he could speak and see yokai. Yokai are spirits of Japanese myth, and Mizuki claimed that ever since he was a child, they'd visit him and talk to him. Far creepier is that Mizuki wasn't just talking, he had proof to back up his claims. During his time as a soldier in World War II, Mizuki survived being left for death, which in itself is a great feat, but becomes far more creepier when you figure out how he actually managed to do it. Mizuki claims that he was given food and water which saved his life, but it was by ghosts. I mean, come on, at what point does something become so crazy that you start to wonder being saved by the dead? Anyway, that's all we had for you today, viewers. Do remember to punch that like button like a shonen protagonist landing the final blow on their enemy. Do subscribe to the channel and ring that bell, because we're just getting started here at Animexcel.